Hello world, so my name is Poloko, and today we are doing a review of this magnificent piece of art called Tsekiso by Tumelo Mleleki. It is a book that mainly focuses on issues of adulting through the eyes of, say, a young adult. His name is Tsekiso, so that's the title of the book. Right, so this book talks about the experiences he faces as a young adult and him adulting. So it's talking about his experience at work, his experience with friends, his experience with family. Now, the themes that we pick up from this are mainly what we as 2Ks or Gen Z go through. Your dating life, your living with your parents and trying to make it work with them, trying to make them understand that you are growing. At the same time, you have the dynamics of your attachment to them has to change in a way. It talks about the events that he goes through his adulting as a young adult, morphing from a teenager to an adult, having to be a responsible someone, having to deal with real life problems. So the events that take place in the book are ones that reflect or mirror certain societal expectations, certain themes, or certain things that we usually go through, young adults of today usually go through. We will look at maybe the expectations that his parents have of him, that he should still be at home early, not going out, not clubbing, maybe even a stable relationship. And that is merely brought about by the changes in social norms, right? So for them, clubbing wasn't such an accepted thing. It wasn't a way to release or to have fun. But now it is a way that is acceptable for leisure, for getting to unwind as a person or unwind as a young person. And they find it unacceptable for Tsekiso to do that. They find it really irresponsible. And let's not forget that they expect him to be quite a responsible someone. And you can even see when we talk about expectations, the expectations that his friend Nale has of him. He expects him to be I guess, someone who hooks him up with things. For example, a job. The friend wanted a job at Tsekiso's aunt's a tourism agency, and he expected, merely because they are friends, that he would get the job. He deserves the job. I guess also this expectation stems from his entitlement nature, which is something that is not so foreign to the youth of today. We are quite entitled, to be honest. I don't know if it is whether we lived a safe and comfortable life that we feel like the world owes us anything, but honestly it doesn't. Another theme that I find quite important that this book highlights is the issue of literacy and the issue of competence. So Tsekiso and his aunt and Kotli find solace in one another because they enjoy reading together, they enjoy exploring literature together, and that has made their relationship grow and have depth, and for them to be comfortable around one another because they get to know one another through literature. Now, competency, we see this when Nale fails to show how competent he can be in order to get the job he wanted. As I told you, that he expected to be handed to him, so he felt he didn't need to be competent or literate enough. So sometimes we take the matter of being literate, it's so little, but it actually influences a lot of things in our lives, such as competence, such as articulating ourselves. And being able to articulate yourself is also a form of competence. So something for someone to keep in mind. It happens a lot around our lives. So as a young adult, you have to be competent, you have to be literate, you have to be able to articulate yourself. One of the other themes is family dynamics. So the dynamics that Tsekiso has to deal with in his family are so different with every individual in the family, the way he relates to his cousin Abuliano, or how he relates to his parents, how he relates to his aunts is quite different, right? So you'll see that he relates differently to the way when he relates to his the way he relates to his mother is different to how he relates to his aunt totally. The way he relates to his father is different to how he relates to his uncle Mzwa or his uncle Mwatli, right? So those are some of the family relations and family dynamics that exist that force him to sort of adjust to and understand, so that they are not mentally taxing to him or emotionally taxing to say. And also these family dynamics in this family are quite unique. You find that the Tsekiso is friends with a child whose parents are in a way tangled to the family, and it was quite a weird encounter when now they had to all meet up in family gathering, or a bringing of two families of people who are friends, and a bubble is best, right? And it's not something that usually happens. Families nowadays do not conform to the usual conservative dynamics, that you have a father, you have a mother, you have an uncle. You might not know that your uncle is a step somebody, is your friend, it's quite complicated in this instance, and we have seen that as a result of a change of social norms, family dynamics are getting a bit more complicated. That brings on issues to adulting as well. You have to be able to read the room and adjust to those new family dynamics. Now, the next topic that we're going to talk about that really is a nice one when it comes to this book, an interesting one that I find quite unique to this book, is the issue of an antagonist and a protagonist, right? So in this book, I feel that the antagonist is the protagonist and the protagonist is the antagonist, and we're talking about Tsekiso here. So when we look at the root of the problems he's facing, the maker of the problems that he ends up facing in the book, he is the cause of those problems. He makes decisions that cause rippling effects that bring onto the problems that he has to deal with. For example, there's a problem where he has to help his Abuti Liano deal with his irresponsible decision. Now, he didn't have to deal with that. That didn't have to be a problem that he deals with as a protagonist in the book, but because he made a conscious decision to involve himself in that, he was the antagonist that caused the problem that the protagonist deals with. Him being in a relationship with someone who, in a way, I guess, revealed certain red flags. He ended up having to deal with an attachment problem in a way, or a relationship, a romantic love that has a false start, that is quite insubstantial, in a way. So he decided that he's going to continue with that. He decided that, no, I can see this is going to be a potential problem, right? But I am still going to go through with it. And when it poses or causes emotional turmoil, well, he's the root of that. The protagonist is dealing with an emotional turmoil that is caused by the antagonist, who made a decision that he's going to bring this thing into their lives that is going to cause the protagonist a problem. But anyway, he was smart enough and responsible enough and mature enough to let that go, whereas I'm dealing with it. So he was the hero of his own story. He's a hero to problems of his own making, to circumstances of his own making, right? And my favorite characters in this book, well, I do not have any, but if I were to mingle mush a few things, think about it clearly, maybe make insubstantial or inconcrete more emotional decision to who my favorite character is, it would be his uncle Mzwa. I really find it relatable, in the way he chose to structure his life. I find Aunt Kotli also a favorite character of mine in the way in the decisions that she makes for her life, how she chooses to mold her life, you know, what life she creates for herself. I find that really admirable for a person to do that, and yeah, that's just why they're my favorite characters in it. Now, with all that said, let's wrap this book review up, because this book has a lot. I mean, each chapter is, I don't know, a book of its own. You can write a 500-page review on one chapter alone. So I'm just gonna wrap it up here. Thank you for listening. I'm sure you should be able to get yourself a copy, enjoy it on your own, maybe get it as a gift for Christmas to one of your young adults or teens in the house or in the family, or a friend, you know, so they can enjoy it for themselves and find it quite relatable. The language used, the themes used are quite relatable to teens as well, to your 2000s, your problematic 2000s. So that's it.